Hello everyone and welcome to this video on integrating Power BI with other applications. I am Tim Weinzapfel, and in this video I am going to talk about how you can set up safety measures when you are using Power Automate to automatically send emails. Now in a previous video I showed how you can embed a Power Automate flow directly in your Power BI report to send automatic emails. What I want to do is in this video is show how you can create some safety measures and some things to be aware of. Now, if you missed that video on creating that flow, I'm going to put a link to it right here. So be sure to check that out. However, I will be sort of covering that as we get into updating that flow in this video. Let me give a quick example. Jump over to my Power BI report. So I've got a sample report here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter this report. It is showing that I have 7 projects that are past due, and I want to send emails to the project managers because I want to get a status of them. Now, rather than having to send manual updates, I have a flow already embedded in here. And this is my Power Automate flow, and I have it set so that when it's triggered, it's going to send emails to each of these individuals. That's going to be populated in that email with information that I've created. So let me go ahead and do that. I've got some examples. These are being sent to me. But you can see here are all the emails. Now, this is a great way to use Power Automate and Power BI because it allows you to really automate this manual task. However, there are a couple of things that you really need to be aware of when doing this. And I'm going to cover the 2 big things. The first one is that there is no confirmation to proceed. Once you push this button, it triggers the flow, and that flow is going to get kicked off. So if your user accidentally, you click on that button and when you don't want to, or let's say in this example, I didn't have these filtered and I went ahead and clicked that button, then of course it's going to send more emails than you want. So the first thing which I always like to do is have some kind of confirmation just to be sure, because again, if you're sending a lot of emails, it could have a pretty drastic effect. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do that. And I have an example here. So I'll click on this. I've actually got a button that if I click on it, it actually now pops up this confirmation, and I could either cancel it, or if I wanted to switch back here, let's say I'm looking at my 7 here and I click this, I could then go ahead and send the emails. So this is my first measure that I always put in. And this is something that you could do very easily in Power BI. So let's jump over to the desktop and I will show that. All right, so I've jumped over to the desktop file, and you're going to see here is my Power Automate button. That is right here. That's the standard visual. But in setting this up, what I've done is if I click on this, now this isn't just an actual button. You'll notice too, it doesn't have the triangle here, which the Power Automate flow button does have. And if I got to do the selection here. All this really is I'm using bookmarks and a couple of Power BI visuals to recreate that confirmation. I have this confirmation called Group 1, and let's actually walk through this group. Let me go ahead and show it. And what this group is consists of just these 4 items. The first one is this rectangular shape. This is just a gray rectangular shape. If I go into the style, you'll see that I'm actually applying a transparency effect. So it kind of makes it stand out. I then have my text box where I am providing the text here. And I've got embedded in this is hard to see here if I can actually click on the text box. This is just your standard text box, but you can actually build in a measure. I've actually got a measure so that it dynamically will say how many items have been selected. So I've built that in. Then again, I have the Power. Now there's the Power Automate button that I've got. So that's the one that will trigger. And then I have a cancel one to cancel that. All I do is I group them, and then I'm just using bookmarks over here to show or hide the confirmation. And then these bookmarks are just set. So this button here has the show confirmation. So you click on that, it appears. And if I hit the cancel button over here, go to the, if I can go to the button here, and you'll see it is the hide confirmation, which is this there. So first approach that I do to create this sort of safety measure when you are doing these automate is to set up that confirmation box. So that's the first one. Now, the second one is something that I build into my Power Automate flow, and that is I usually put a limit on how many emails that can be sent. Now, before I jump to that, I want to show one thing that you have to be very, very careful of in Power Automate, and that is making sure, and let me hide all these here, making sure that the data that is being visible, and I'll use this table as an example, is the same that it's being sent to this flow. So this is my Power Automate flow. I'll just use this one. It would be the same as in that confirmation box. But you want to make sure that the same filters in this table here that I'm showing is the same here, right? And I can see that if I just click on this table, hover over here, look at the filter, I see no filters being applied. Same here. Let's go ahead and change this to past due. And now you'll see this is past due, this is past due, and you'll see that this is great. One other quick tip that I always like to give is this is the table here, but this you just want to make sure that this is the data being sent. And what I'll do is, and I'll see over here, I'm going to click on my Power Automate button. I have a lot of the same fields in this table that I'm passing over, but a real quick tip here is make it bigger and convert this to a table, because this will now show you all of the data that is actually being sent to that button. Let me give you an example. Let me jump back over here to this table. Let's go ahead and change this status now to all. You'll see this one also. If I expand that, you'll see this is also all. But let's say I go ahead and I go to this table here, and I decide, you know what, I want to apply a filter just to this table. So I do that. I go down here to project status, and let me just change this status to past due. I think, great, this is fabulous. I've got all 7 showing here. But if I look at this table, because that filter has not been applied, you're going to see all 20. So again, be very careful when you are setting up these flows using Power Automate that the data that you're sending is correct. Now, let me move into the example. I'm going to switch this back over to a button here. And now I'm switched, and let's go ahead and I'll just change this to past due. And now this past due filter is being applied to here. The other thing like I said, I like to do is build in a limit. So let me give this a simple example here. In my list, and I have to clear this filter out here, so let me do that. I've got 20 records. This is fine, but what happens if I only wanted to send it to, say, 2 or 3 people? Well, 20 is not a big deal, because, and of course, if it's internal, you know, it's not, maybe won't be as big of a deal. But what happens if this 20 records was 2,000 or 20,000, and once that flow is triggered, you could be sending out 20,000 emails. So one thing I like to build in then is a limit that if perhaps, you know, for some odd reason, maybe it's the user doesn't apply right enough filter. I only want more than, I only want less than, say, 50 or 20 emails to be sent. So if for some odd reason a lot of records get sent to my flow, that I've got a sort of a safety in there that will stop to say, oh, it's more than, X number of records, so terminate the flow. So we're going to actually build that in. And that's another trick I've used, because it has actually saved me in situations before. So let me give you an example. Now I've only got 20 here. So let's say I want to build a measure of if there's more than 5. So if more than 5 records get selected, I want it to cancel the flow and alert me, or alert the user. And the other thing I would say is if I did that, I would actually build anything in here as well, just so that you get that, sort of that user experience. But let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to jump over to Power Automate. So I'm going to click on my button here. This is the Power Automate button. And let me go ahead and edit this. And let me go ahead and select. This is the flow that I have applied. One other quick tip is if you work with Power Automate and Power BI, one thing that unfortunately is not readily available is it does not show you here which flow has been applied to your button. You just have to know. I am hoping, and I believe Microsoft has that on their roadmap to eventually fix. But right now, just be aware that when you do apply a flow to your Power Automate button, it is not indicated there. So this is the one. I know it. I'm going to go ahead and edit it. Now, I actually have the safety measure already built in, so I'm going to walk through it. So the first thing is the normal approach to sending emails is, again, on the Power BI. That's the standard trigger when the Power BI button is clicked. The other normal action then is just this step right here, this send an email. Okay, and this is the one that is normally sending the email out to all the recipients. But what I've done is I've added a couple of additional steps, and this is what sort of builds in this safety measure. So the first thing I do is I'm just using the standard compose statement. And what I'm doing here is I'm getting the number of records. I'm using the length function, and I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild this just so that I can redo it here. And I want to show another little trick that I've learned in doing this. So the first step is I get this, I determine how many records are sent. I use a condition to say, hey, if it's more than, and I'm going to change this to 5. If it is less than or equal to 5 records, then that would be this path. Go ahead and send the email. It's more than 5. Go down here, which is the no. And this is a sending an email, which basically says you've selected more than 5 records. Please try again, and then terminate the flow. And I'll show that. So very easy to set up, but I'm going to show one quick tip on this compose because it's not as quickly intuitive to do this one step here using the length function. So I'm going to recreate it, and then I'll just delete it. But the compose function is a great one. This is kind of like just creating a very simple variable. I'll go ahead and choose that. And the other thing is there is a length function. So if I go over here to length, I can give the length, and it asks me what is the length for the collection that you want. Now, what I want for the length is actually a dynamic, is one of the dynamic contents from this Power BI button clicked. And let me actually show you the one I want, which is the one you need. It is this one called Power BI data. This is basically a tabular data. I think it's being sent over like in an array. And I want the length of that. The problem is if I use the length function and I go over here to click on dynamic, it's a little hard to see here, but nothing shows up. It doesn't allow me to it doesn't show up as a dynamic one. So I'm like, oh, it's not there. Actually, you can actually hard code it in. But let me show you a simpler way to do that so you can get the right coding. And the way I did this is I'm going to go ahead and delete this compose, this function. I'm going to go back to dynamic content, click on Power BI data, and there it is. And that's the coding I need. Trigger body, I need all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to hit Control C. You can't see me doing it. But what I am doing is I am copying all of that text, trigger body, parentheses, and so on. Because now what I'm going to do is go here, do my length function, and I will paste in. Oh, I must not have copied it, so let's try that again. Oh, I got to actually click on it. Okay, I've clicked on it. I can hit Control C. I'm going to delete it now and go to my expression. I'll type in length, and I've pasted it in. Now, the only other cleanup you have to do, let me scroll all the way over, is it does add in this @ and this curly bracket. I need to remove that, and I need to remove that. That will work. That will get me the exact same one as here, which is exactly that one right there. So that's how I do it. That will get in the compose statement that will determine how many records have been selected. So let's go ahead and delete this step. And then again, I just add a condition with the output of this. And this will be, and if it's less than or equal to 5, go ahead and send those emails. If it's not, I go ahead and say, send this other email to whoever I'm sending it here to the user that it's terminated. And then there is a terminate step, and I'm using the canceled status. So let's go ahead and test this out. I'll save and apply it. Go back to my report, and let's go ahead. I've got 20 selected. Let me go ahead and hit send the emails. What I should get now is one email that is saying that I selected too many. Jump over to my email, and there it is. The flow is terminated. You selected more than 5 records. You selected 20. So I can go back now to my report, and let me just select 2. Send the emails. And there they are. There's one of them, and then there is the other one. So that's it. That is a couple of great things that I like to do when you are doing this, using Power Automate to send emails from your Power BI report. So I hope you found this helpful. And again, this is one thing I always emphasize this approach when using Power Automate and emails, because what you don't want to have happen is, of course, send out 100 or 1,000 or whatever, how many emails, and all of a sudden you're scrambling to try to stop that flow and also stop all those emails going. So hope you found this helpful. If you did, please hit the like button, and also if you can subscribe. I'm going to be trying to put out more videos of integrating Power BI with Power Automate and Power Apps and some other applications as I continue. So thank you so much for watching.